Hi everyone, this is Jen Maldonado. I'm thrilled for today's webinar. If you are just logging in, we're about to get started. We are 1 minute away from getting to start. I'm feeling on fire with this topic of the top places to find investors. 100,000, 500,000, $1 million, 3 millions is just a few zeros more. After funding millions of dollars in real estate projects, I can say that there's an abundance of money seeking for deals. So we're 1 minute away from advancing into the webinar, and there's a ton of you logging in. So for those who are just jumping in the webinar, again, my name is Jen Maldonado, and I will be hosting today's webinar. But before we begin, let me know where you guys are from. I will love for you guys to tap in the chat box which city are you from. Oh, great. We have Hawaii. We have people from Hawaii. That's pretty cool. Shilpa, Los Angeles, Mark, Long Beach, California. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Daryl. We have people from San Francisco, Colorado, Florida, Studio City. Awesome. Awesome. Guys, this is great. We're getting to at the top of the hour. I'm ready to get started. I hope you got ready with pen and paper because you will be taking a lot of great notes. Again, my name is Jennifer Maldonado. I'm looking forward to share great information with you and have fun while doing it. For me to have fun, I want you guys to be participating. I thrive when I have a lot of interaction, and through the seminar, I will appreciate your questions in the chat box. So if you keep connected with me and you want to keep this interacting, just make sure that you're typing your questions in the chat box, and I will make sure that I answer those. I have only an hour here on the webinar, so I'm going to cover a lot and move really fast. And my promise to you, though, is that before this webinar ends, you will have 5 strategies in your toolbox to connect with private investors. So before we get full speed, let me ask you this. Do you understand the difference between private money, hard money, and institutional money? So type in the chat box to see if I should give a short overview. Okay, yes, please explain. Yes, explain. I know the difference. Quick explanation. Explanation. Yes. 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 I know the difference. Okay, great. Because some of you are asking for it, here is a brief overview. Private money is more with a direct individual who lends their money. Private investors decide if they want to fund the deal, and some of them will go for 100% of your project. Some of them will say, no, you have to have a skin in the game. So they have all the decision power. However, when you're talking about hard money, it's a more structured company with requirements, and those requirements are subject to certain criteria. They develop these criteria based on experience, and they can lend their own money or others people's money. They tend to lend from 70% to 90% of the acquisition cost of a real estate property, and some of them will do 80 to 100% of the rehab project. They don't use your credit for an interest rate or the amount of money they are willing to lend to lend you that amount, but experience and other kind of risk factors are important to determine the rate and the amount they will be lending to you. When I'm talking about real estate, the deal is normally structured by a lien position, which is normally recorded in the county. It shows as a lien on the real estate property in case of default, meaning that if the borrower defaults on their loan or they don't pay, the lender has legal rights to that property. And that applies to banks too, right? It's the same concept. But talking about banks, the banks fall under the what we call institutional lending. And the institutional money is mostly banks. And most of the times they're insured by the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. FDIC is an independent federal agency insuring deposits in U.S. banks and thrifts in the event of bank failures. And the institution lending requirements are subject to Treasurer and FDIC rules, and so forth. They're stricter and a slight flexible when talking about how much they will lend, the interest that they will charge, and who they lend the money to. And of course, they do not tend to lend on houses that are not in livable conditions. And I say they don't tend because some of them will give you some money, but normally they need to be in livable conditions, which it means that investors like you and me that work with properties that are not normally in livable conditions, or even land that there's no existing properties, we need to look into securing loans or finding money partners from hard money lenders or private lenders who are willing to invest the money on the project. And today's presentation, it will be about 5 strategies to find these private investors. So before we dive in, I must keep my lawyers in peace. So I'm sharing this disclaimer, very important. I recommend you to read this disclaimer. But in other words, what it's telling you that, I'm not advising you legally. I'm not advising you on taxes. This is just some examples of what I did during my, during my activities to raise capital and where I met these investors. But anytime that you're taking actions, especially when you are involving in other people, you want to look for legal advice or tax advice. I'm not a legal advisor. I'm not a tax advisor. So it is important that whenever you are moving forward with any transactions, that you consult with these advisors. So it's very important, okay? Always keep that in mind, especially when we're talking about private lending and also mingling funds, that at that point we're talking about other kind of raising capital. We're talking about syndication, crowdfunding, and other more advanced topics. Okay, couple of things too that I want to share with you. I really want to share that you're not going to raise 2.5 millions with just creating a presentation or following any of the of the 5 top strategies I will be sharing with you. There's other elements involved, but here's what it is too. At first, you will need a project, but you can start aligning money for your strategy or your asset type or your project. And you might want to be asking yourself, what will be that project? Whether you're a wholesaler seeking for the earnest money deposit, a flipper looking for the gap, a developer, note investor, a multifamily investor looking for equity or passive investors, or any kind of real estate strategy, all of us will agree on something. We want more access to capital because we want to be part of more deals. Simple. More money, more deals. There's no science behind that. But in order to do that, you definitely need a project. And I did other projects where I raised capital. But as I was moving forward in the real estate world, I have a deep desire to get into a development project. And this project was a 4 units development in Koreatown in California. It was one of my partners' project, and she was looking for $350,000 for equity to start and complete these 4-plex. And then I thought, crap, I don't have the money. And then I was like, okay, how can I find the money? Maybe if I raise $50,000 per day in less than 2 weeks, I might raise $350,000. That's a possibility. Maybe I can find one investor. But it doesn't matter how many investors I needed to find. I just needed to find the money. And as I fast-paced at home thinking about how can I come up with this money, bells start ringing. I need to find private investors that can come up with the money. And this meant that if I was capable to raise $350,000 in less than 30 days, I was able to be part of the deal. Um, I met one expert on self-directed IRA, which, if you don't know what it is a retirement account that allows you to invest in self-directed assets, including real estate. And I remember that she ran a real estate club in Orange County here in California, and she was looking for someone to do a deal profile. A deal profile is about presenting a deal from how you got it to how it was completed. You're not pitching or anything like that. And with my broken English, I decided to jump on it and assist her. I had the intention of sharing highly valuable knowledge. And I had it all planned out, what to say, but I wasn't 100% sure about the presentation. So I did my best. I did the presentation in a specific order with a specific information. But my intention, it was to find someone with experience that was willing to invest at least $100,000. That could have given me just a start. And here's what happened. Suddenly, at the end of the night, with a 20 minutes presentation, I found myself attracting $2.5 million of private money looking to be placed immediately. And guess what? I had more money than deals. That was amazing. So let me ask you this. How many of you would like to have that kind of quality problem right now? To have more money than deals? Me, definitely. Yeah. Hell yeah. Of course. Yes. 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 How can I? I want to do it. Please. Yes. 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 Okay. Definitely everyone will be excited about that. Well, I thought it would be cool if I show you that first slide of that presentation that brought me those $2.5 million total. The first investor did $700,000. She was a lawyer, and her money was committed with one of my projects in less than a week. And this presentation ended attracting other 30 investors. So I'm curious, would you find that helpful? Would you find helpful if I show you that first slide that I used in my presentation? Please, me, yes, I want to see it. Show it. Yes, yes, great, awesome. Imagine this too. It was only one of the strategies that we will be discussing today. And the cool thing about today's webinar is that you don't need to master all 5 strategies. If you're just getting started, you only need 1. Currently, I use 3 out of the 5 strategy, and money is overflowing. So I don't know about you guys, but are you feeling the excitement? Yes, yes. Show the strategies. Yes, cool. Yeah, I want to see it. Perfect. So the plan for today is to walk you through the exact 5 strategies that I have been using for more than 5 years to raise $50,000 to $100,000 per hour. And, at the end of the day, what I want you to do is I want you to pick one of them and start working on that one. Okay? My goal during this presentation today is that if you have done your first deal or multiple deals, it doesn't matter. I'm going to show you where to go to create context with the investors so you start attracting money to your deals. The purpose is to start shaping you so you can become a money magnet. And if you have been taking real estate education classes or complete your education but haven't done your first deal, no worries. I will show you where to go to start building your private investors network. Aligning the money first is one of the savviest moves you can do in real estate. No matter what real estate strategy you're getting into, having the money first is one of the best things you can do. And for my coaching clients, it didn't matter if they have tons of experience or non-experience. They were capable of raising $50,000 to $1 million in 90 days. And one more thing, for those who stayed until the end, I will be showing you the other 3 elements of that presentation that attract those those 2.5 millions in less than 20 minutes. And I use these presentations element on my corporate years for top Fortune companies. And the fact is that even if you don't use it in your real estate business, the flow of the presentation that I will be sharing with you is powerful to create an impact into your audience. So how many of you would like to see the 4 elements of my presentation? I mean, great. Yes, please show it to me. Yes, yes, yes. Great. Show it. Awesome. So great. This webinar is about you. So the purpose is that once you learn these elements, you can create a simple, smooth presentation in order to attract money to you. There's much more involved on the process of building the presentation and raising capital, but it will give you a start point. And I'm going to add a lot of value with these strategies. And it means a lot to me if you hang out with us until then. Can we do that? Deal. Yes. Yes. Cool. Deal. Done. Yes. Yes. Okay, perfect. So a little bit about me, because some of you doesn't know me. Let me share some info. Again, my name is Jennifer Maldonado, and my expertise is raising capital for high performance real estate strategies. I have been raising capital for over 5 years now for my own projects and other people's projects. And at this moment, I have raised millions of dollars for real estate equity projects, acquisition of non-performing notes, rehabs, multifamily, and other private loans worth over $65 million. And I have spoken on elite real estate conference like Rich Dad Poor Dad or multiple real estate clubs, radio shows, podcasts, and more. And for 10 years, I managed and led challenging projects resulting in millions of dollars in savings for Johnson & Johnson and Nestle as an engineer until 2012, when I took a leap of faith and quit my 6-figure income to follow my passion about real estate. So I am a bestseller author. I wrote this book with another 9 badass women investing in real estate. And I have another book coming on March about raising 1 million in 30 days. So I'm also an executive and founding member of the Women Real Estate Network. We are the fastest grow women real estate network out there nationwide. And we're about to open another 4 chapters. Yay! Personally, I'm honored that I have been impacting thousands of people in the real estate industry, and it has been positively because my passion is to inspire and assist people unleash their fire within so they go after their dreams. So you're going to know me well in the next hour, and I just want to let you know I've been doing real estate for 7 years, and my current projects will take another 10 to 20 years to complete. So yeah, we'll be around. And I have some rehabs, if you ask me, in and out of state, single family homes and multifamily, development projects, high-end, and my new upcoming project is a veterans project with some of my partners. So yes, I have done a bunch of things out there, and I have been enjoying real estate. But now let's move on and get into the real cool stuff. Where do we meet these private investors? So I'm going to share with you that my first deal was on August 2012. I used my 401k to acquire my first property. And my plan was to live in one side and rent the other one. And to give you a perspective of what I knew about real estate, I just didn't even know what an escrow company was. And I got to read some books. I got some coaching to get my first cash flow property right here in Burbank, California. And after spending many thousands of dollars in education, I could barely afford any trip, a flight, or a hotel. However, I was invited by a recognized wholesaler in the state of Indianapolis to a serious buyers meeting. So I needed to go no matter what. And on October 2012, I found myself in Indianapolis walking into a large room full of real estate investors. And outside was freezing and the inside room was freezing. Yet nobody was wearing a coat. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, so it's a tropical weather. So everything is cold. I was so nervous and excited about the event that the call didn't bother me. And this wholesaler had everything well prepared. He brought like a construction team with a project manager, a property managers, realtors, insurance, and few other resources to make the deal happen. And after he does these awesome presentations, he takes you in a bus tour to visit a few completed projects and other potential deals. And if you like any, you get to make an offer and then set up paperwork with lawyers, and it's pretty quick. So it's very simple. So during the tour, I'm all excited, and then I found the perfect single family home, right location, right territory, great numbers, and I had a team to take care of things for me. Everything sounded great, but then I was missing an important component. Who wants to guess what? Money. That was simple, right? Which I really needed to take care of that because I didn't have any money. But this will bring me to the first strategy, which is friends and family. I had the brilliant idea to call my uncle because he owns some duplexes, and right there, that's the Indianapolis home. This is my uncle because he owned those duplexes, and I knew that he had some cash. So I called him and I told him about the project, the numbers, and I was excited because I did my first pitch in life. And I told him we were going to have paperwork so his money was protected. And I was so excited. I'm like, I nailed this. And then my uncle shared his excitement and how proud he was. Then he said, sweetie, no, I can't give you the money. He says the words, I do not invest with family. And it broke my heart because no matter what, when it's about family and friends, normally you take it very personally. And I was some kind of mad because I knew I was going to do my best to get that project rolling. However, I got my first no. I struggled with the fact that it was his personal decision and not a personal issue with us. And here's what it took me some time to understand, that even when they are family and friends, sometimes it takes time to build trust and confidence within and with them. So I struggled with this for a few months. But then, as Tony Robbins says, and if you don't know him, he's a big performance coach. Tony Robbins says that the quality of the questions that you ask yourself will lead you to the quality of life that you have. So I thought about that, and then I asked myself, what? And that question was like, how can I earn their trust and confidence quickly? Because we all know that real estate is about timing. You don't have that lapse of time. You need to get things quickly. So I went back to the conversation and recall some lessons. And here is my first lesson or first insight. When I contacted my uncle, I didn't treat my uncle as an investor, but as if he was doing me a favor. I was needy and begging for money instead of offering an opportunity to create wealth. You hear me? An opportunity to create wealth. Therefore, I gave all the power to him instead of leading him into taking a reasonable decision. Raising capital is not about begging for money, but offering the opportunity to a person to put their money to work. The moment I figured that out, my story with investors completely changed. And one of the things that you must do in order to change results is to change the story that you tell yourself. And that was my first biggest lesson. The moment that I figured out that I was gifting people with the opportunity to invest with me and not begging for money, I became a money magnet. Friends and family and any kind of a stranger that I knew. So after I figured that out and understood that, at that instance, I made a promise to myself. I will not lose a deal because of lack of money. I was going to learn to raise capital well with always the intention to create wealth for all of us. So here's what happened, right? I was posting about my projects in Facebook. Little I know that my friends were watching me for more than a year now. And for my surprise, they start calling me and offer me overall over $500,000 to invest. And of course, I welcome them to the journey. Not far ago, my uncle became one of my fans. So I learned why people make the personal decision about not investing with friends and family. And the problem with investing with friends and family is that you believe that if you don't perform well, then the relationship will end. And maybe you don't dare to offer the opportunity to your friends and family. You might think that you don't have the experience, it's the right time, you're too busy, or any number of limiting beliefs that get in your way. And as a result, at the crucial moment when it's important to be convincing, you might believe that you are risking your personal relationship and you fail to give them an opportunity to grow their wealth. And I don't want that to happen to you anymore. And because of that, I want to share with you some insights to assist you keeping a healthy relationship with them, okay? The first one is you want to treat your family and friends professionally. Again, yes, they're friends and family, but make sure that you put in your head that these people is part of your private investors, okay? The other thing you want to do is you want to discuss roles, responsibilities, risks, and how you will handle different scenarios and disagreement. Especially if you're doing business with friends and family, I have noticed that there's a lot of resentment when someone is doing more work, or when someone is putting the money and they're not being compensated appropriately. So having those roles, responsibilities, and risks declared right from the start in paper. You want to make sure to have your legal paperwork in place. So you have to put this in paper so there's no misunderstanding, because all of us will forget. After many years, we will forget what we agreed. But when we put it in paper, it's a completely different story. Then the other thing that I will recommend you is set boundaries. There's no business conversation during family time. You can coordinate to talk about that, but keep it out of your family times, and focus on sharing the expectation. Focus on creating a deeper and meaningful relationship with your friends and family. And here it is. You have to work on your communication skills, because definitely it's going to be one of those crucial conversations that you need to have, especially when we're talking about stakes that are high. So we're talking about the 50, the hundreds, the $1 million. It is important that you have that. Family and friends can be a great place to start raising capital. My friends have invested with me for over 4 years now, and they were not rich. They started with 20, others with 50, and so on, until now they're investing the hundred thousands with me. And here's the thing though, some of my students were surprised when they decide to start with this strategy. They won't do it in the past, but they decide to give it a try, and they follow step by step a guide that I create for them on what to say, how to say it, and how to move them from objections to commitment. Their family members were looking to start investing in real estate, and some of them with over $350,000. Some of them found like 50, some of them found 20, other 100, but they found some money. And here's the reality. If you're boom because you have tried multiple times with many of them and they say no, don't worry. I experienced that with my uncle. My students experienced that too. It was a great practice and safe experience to go through. The first thing that I wanted to share with you and with them is a very simple concept. The moment that they say no, it wasn't a no. It was a not yet. Repeat with me. It wasn't no. It was a not yet. Again, it wasn't no. It was a not yet. So through the training, we work on how to approach them, and the game changed. And as it did with my uncle too. So as you learn how to bring your A game, the story might change for you too. And if there's something to be learned from this strategy to find investors, is that you don't want to miss out in giving the opportunity to create wealth for the people that is most important to you. Just imagine this. Someone in your family has a great opportunity to create wealth, and they go out there and they do good money, but they didn't offer that opportunity to you. Maybe other members, but not you. And maybe you have the money or not. And if they didn't offer you that opportunity, how will that make you feel? I want you to type in the chat box. Sad, sadness, mad, intrigue. Elizabeth, if they don't share that opportunity, how would you know about it? Of course, if you see it later, you might have that intrigue, but if they didn't share it, how are you going to know? So think about this. If they do not invest with you, they will go out there with someone else that might not take care of them as well as you will. Keep that in mind. I hope that stick to your head. They will go out there with someone that might not take care of them as well as you will. Okay, let's move on with strategy number 2. Of course, my friends found about my real estate deals on Facebook. So my natural tendency was to find more investors through social media. So I started on Facebook by posting about my real estate projects more often. There was some traction, not significant, but I started learning about social media and website marketing in 2015. And I shared with a brilliant marketer what I was doing because I needed some coaching. And he told me, Jen, and this was important. The problem or reason why you are not tapping into that private money right now is because you are doing your message and marketing wrong or not delivering appropriately. That shocked me right there. I was like, what do you mean? But the statement made me realize that I needed clarity and focus to speak to investors in social media or any online presence. It made me realize that I didn't understand my investors, and it opened my eyes to the lack of alignment and clarity in my message to attract or approach investors. So as soon as I did a small shift, guess what happened? Those small shifts include create and share strategic content through websites, blog, and social media posts. That was the shift that happened to me. And the online presence create hundreds of leads, not only for money, but for deals, because I was able to give private investors a taste of knowledge, experience, and real context and value. And if you're asking what is context, let me talk to you about what is context. Let me explain you something about it. When you create context for investors, you get their attention in the middle of the clutter of the online world. And one of the things that I teach my students in the art of raising capital is the importance of creating context and distinguish themselves from the rest of the world. And most people mess this up. They confuse context with content. They confuse context with building rapport or massive information that don't lead the investors to want to connect with them. You end in a never moving forward relationship with your investors. So context is about providing meaningful information that make the investor want to listen more about you, your projects, your information. Creating context is a powerful skill, to the point that I make my students promise that when they learn how to create context, they will maintain high integrity every step of the way, and they won't use it for selfish motives. And because I'm sharing this with you, I want to ask you guys, if I am teaching you this strategy that can highly increase your influence in another people, can I count that you will use it with integrity? Yes, yes, of course, indeed. Oh, yeah, yes, 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 yes. I will. No, I know you were doing it. Awesome. I won't expect less from any of you. Creating context is one of the most powerful tools to influence people. I have one challenge with online presence, though. When you're sharing context, you need to know what is that you're sharing. How is that you're advertising? Because there's a lot of legalities when you're raising capital that applies to the way you advertise. So if you decide to go with the online presence, the wisest advice I will give you today, and hear me well, the wisest advice is before you start advertising online to investors about putting money with you must consult with an attorney or a legal advisor. It's very tricky and how you can advertise, but there are many ways that you can do it the right way. Okay, so hopefully you get that again. It's about integrity, and before you advertise, you are going to consult with your attorney. Do we have a deal? Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. Before you do anything online, it's important. So strategy number 3, networking. This is one of my favorite ones. I can meet an investor face to face today, not know anything about him or her, and get them into a deal with a simple conversation. And these investments tend to be $100 to $1 million per deal with me. So this is one of my favorite strategies. A lot of people say that they're great at networking, and still they manage to mess up crucial conversations during networking. So here's how it goes. They told me that they're great networkers, and I observe them, and the first thing they do during the networking is their 30-second elevator pitch. They're super excited because it took them months to get that pitch right. And you approach, to the people with confidence, and you test your pitch repeatedly, and you're seeing smiles, and you're all excited. You were very professional, easy to talk to, and you sound very confident, and all of that really cool jazz. You exchange business cards, and you say to yourself, "Whoa, I nailed this." So let me ask you this. When was the last time that you went to a network event so you could get sold by someone else, so you can hear a 30-minute pitch? So how many of you did that? me. Yeah, yes, me. My pitch is great. Yeah, I'm not doubting, and I'm not saying that it's not good to have one of those 30-second pitch. The problem is that saying it at the wrong time will get you nowhere. And many of you are frustrated, sad, disappointed, or you name it, because you network very often and you get little to no results. And if you're amongst the 10% of people that follow up after a network event, you get on the phone call, you get into a phone call, you call 10 to 20 people. And if you're lucky, you get to talk to some of them, or you will hear crickets. So how many of you have experienced that in a network event where you feel you lost your time and money? It was worthless. Me. All of us have been there. And I don't know about you, but I don't have that kind of time, energy, or I don't like to invest my money in an event like that. Here's how it goes for me. I have to go to an event, make an impact, connect with at least 5 quality leads, and convert 2 of them immediately into my private lenders. And I want to have fun while networking. I don't want to have any kind of pressure. That's how I network. So who would love to have a formula like that? That you go, you contact 5 people and you convert 2. Me, yeah, what's the formula? me, I do. Great. So I didn't invent this formula, but I had an amazing mentor for networking that gave me the heavy lifting, and I just refined my process to have those results when it's about raising capital. My mentor has been sharing his strategy with my students, and that has made a huge difference on their results. So if you can learn how to save more time and be effective during your network events, would you love the opportunity to learn more about it. Heck yeah. Yes, yes. Yeah. Tell me more. Okay. Yes, yes. Yeah. From everything that I have learned about networking, I want to share with you 3 lessons today so you can start leveling up your network game because it's important. And the first one is when you go to a network event, don't confuse a network event with a sales event. You're not there to sell to anyone. You're there to connect with people, to get curious about them and get information about them. I teach my students how to create that context right away. So these people want to connect with them. You are the one that will decide if you want to take further actions, meaning if you want to meet with these people. And in fact, I just created scripts that you can use as a guidance that takes you step by step on what to say to determine if you want to further connect with this person. And that's the first lesson. Don't forget about that. Do not confuse a network event with a sales event. Here's this lesson number 2. Go to the right places for networking. If you're seeking to exponentially grow your list of private money people, go to places where they have money, but little to no time to invest in real estate. I network at conferences where doctors, lawyers, CPAs, movie producers, financial advisors, and other busy people with money go. I go to real estate networks, don't get me wrong, but I go to those networks when I'm seeking investors who can make decisions fast. I hang out with financial people in conference where I met with bankers and people like Henry Paul. I don't know if you saw the picture start. He was Secretary of Treasury of the United States of America. So because I appreciate wine too, and I enjoy giving back to the community through charity events, I go there and I know that I can find money there too. Just think about it, think through it. Here's something that you need to learn. Networking is not to hang out. Well, I hang out too, but networking is an investment of time and money. Make it worth it. So here's the lesson number 3. So you go to a network event, and guess what? You forgot to follow up right away after your network event. People will forget you. The days will pass and they won't remember you. Set up that appointment even before leaving the networking room. Don't keep a collection or stack of business cards for months. And I have done that. But now I'm wiser and smarter about networking. I set up time right away to connect people the next day. I set up those appointments and make sure I follow up. And that's really important. So always follow up. Again, don't confuse a network event with sales events. Network in the right places and follow up. And if you're asking, where is the money? Where you can find this other money? Here's the best place. Strategy number 4. If you're asking where the money is in the United States of America, it's in the retirement funds. So you want to hang out with them. If you want to find out, there's 8.4 trillion in IRA money. There's 7.5 trillion in 401ks. There's 5.7 trillion in pensions, 3 trillion in defined benefit plans, 2.1 trillion in annuities. So it's important that you understand that, and you understand that the money is hiding there. But you can find it, right, in people who specialize on 401k solos. You can do a lot of movement from a regular 401k to a 401k solo, so your investors can invest in real estate, but you can find money there. There's also the self-directed IRAs. Those tends to be very popular, right? Also, you want to talk to financial planners or advisors. You want to hang out with them. You want to hang out with cash value insurance policy people. And there's more. There's so many accounts that you can tap into it. And there are difference on how and when you can use these retirement accounts and how you structure the deal with investors if they have any of these accounts. So one of the things that people get to enjoy in our yearly membership or when you join in one of our programs is that our students get to learn from these specific experts every month on how they can use or structure how can they use this money or structure deals with these accounts? So as I mentioned, the 401k and self-directed are the simplest products to structure the deal. The most common are there. They're more popular than other financial products because that the people has been advertising more. But there's other type of money sources that I talk to my students in the art of raising capital training. That gives them a lot of access to more money. So if you want to find private investors, here's some of the retirement leaders that you should be connecting with to start building your network. Now, something very important is that this leader might be limited to make recommendation about suggesting investment opportunities. This means that you might have to attend to their events for you to connect with their investors, and they will tell you because they cannot do it by law. So you have to be hanging out with them, in other words. Also remember, it's important that not all retirement leaders will be the same. Cliche. Or not all retirement leaders might be good for what they do, but not for real estate. This is a specialized people. You will have to look for referrals since this is a specialized concept. For example, cash value insurance policies are a very unique expertise, and they require a lot of knowledge in how to set up these products. I was aware about them because I did some financial work when I was in college to pay for my degree. And I learned a lot about how to set them up, but not for real estate. So, however, as I learned more about raising capital, I understood the complexity on how to set up these accounts. And they're very different depending on the company and the rules. So one of the things that people love about connecting with my consultants network is that you get to interact with these different reliable resources, the different policies and opportunities to get access to this capital. That they have the expertise and experience on working with these accounts. So if you're going to use these money sources, it's always important to connect with the right resources. And super important that you advise your investors to work with their financial planners and tax advisors. There are moments that these products might trigger tax consequences, and they want to make sure that things are handling properly, because if not, you're going to deceive the purpose of some of these accounts, okay? Retirement fund leaders are not experts on taxes. They are experts on the products. Maybe financial advisors have some knowledge of taxes, but don't risk it. When using these tools, you always want to advise your investors to consult with their financial planner or tax advisor. When I'm working on this product, I tend to only work with sophisticated investors and experts when allowing them to use these products to invest on my projects, because there's a lot that comes with it. But there's a lot of money on it, okay? Now, let's talk about the strategy number 5, speaking. Whether you're talking to one person or hundreds of people in front of a room, podcast, club, radio shows, TV, or other speaking media like YouTube channel, there are psychological principles on how to structure your conversations and presentations to blow your audience minds. I'm talking about how you create context for the investors without using cheesy sales techniques that drives people away from you. So on January of this year, I jumped in front of 150 real estate investors at Orange County Real Estate Investment Association for the 3rd time. This association has some of the savviest investors in California. Most likely, they have been investing longer than what I have been alive. So I have one shot to show them an innovative and profitable deal with no pitch in the first 3 minutes, and then keep them interested in the presentation for another 17, which is a big challenge because today's days, the attention span is 7 seconds, so you can't imagine. But here's my promise to you. Here's the slide that I use as an opening for that kind of presentation, and it goes this way. They introduced me, and the retirement leader introduced me, and I say, I introduce myself and then right away start. If you want to describe Southern California in just few words, you might say expensive housing, wonderful weather, or beautiful beaches. But if you really want to capture what is going on, you could simply say no vacancy. It was presented well, it sounded lively, well paced, flowing, strong, a little bit humble and beautiful. And my words got people's attention, even when sometimes it was hard to understand me. But I have one job. My job was to connect with the audience and get them excited to hear the next sentence and the next and the next. So here's what came later. There's a limited affordable housing supply in this real estate market. The homeowners vacancy rate was flat in 2017, while rental vacancy rate rose slightly to 4.3%, the lowest in the record. So I keep going and I back up my thing by data. Why? The job growth is one of the key drivers, but the credit crunch is a culprit too. And there isn't enough power, water, and emergency infrastructure to support the needed housing growth here in Southern California. Even if there were infrastructure communities, don't want outsiders to build throwaway housing. So guess what? Permits are hard to get or the process is too long. And if you're developing here in California, you know what I'm talking about. They can go forever. So the result of all of this, if you own working class multifamily units in this market, you had enjoyed 100% occupancy, limited competition, and high net profit. That week, I got one investor to fund over $700,000 in one of my partner's projects. And another 30 investors contact me later offering the money. And that's when I hit the 2.5 million. So this is what I want to share with you because this is how I open it. Simple, right? But because you have been sticking with me to the end, sharing all of these great information, I want to share with you the other 4 elements. You have been sticking with me and I want to share those 3 elements that follow this slide. Again, a 20 minutes presentation with a highly effective message to investors. And I want to tell you this, I learned this presenting formula from an engineering methodology to optimize projects. And I ended up using it for presenting my deal profile. And I thought it was over the top that maybe I should, get another kind of approach and follow what other people out there was doing. However, I was running out of time, so I decided to take a shot. And I presented, and right there, the money flowed to me. And I have to tell you this too. I thought that maybe it was because, I was smiling or I feel like I'm a cool person or approachable. But then when I found my students on how to create this kind of context, using these elements, how to prepare mentally, emotionally, and physically, and put the content for a real pitch, they increased their investors network by 10x, and 83% of my students raised $50,000 minimum in the first 90 days, up to $1 million with experience and non-experience in real estate. So what are those 4 elements? Well, the first one that you saw is what I call the big idea. So you talk about the intro, what is that they're going to be talking about, and an opportunity, which it was you need to get in the multifamily world. Remember, it was that this presentation was done for those 4 units in Southern California, specifically in Koreatown. And I needed to define why that was a super cool strategy, and the opportunity was to create that kind of information. I give them more details after the fact. This is not the only presentation I did, but this is the one that got their attention. And then I talk about why now, what was happening in the market, and the problem that I was trying to solve, that we needed to develop more units. That was pretty straightforward. I don't know if you catch that. They need units. There's no vacancy rate in Southern California. So the other thing is the performance and financials is the other problem. And that's the solution. I talk about the solution. I tell them what's coming. And after I did that presentation, they were blown away. And then at the end, Just at the end, I talk about the team and I invite them to see my projects. Bingo. So this is the 5 strategies I have used to raise more than $1 million in less than 30 days. And I encourage you to use some of that. So let me ask you this, guys. Do you think that these 5 top strategies has been super valuable? Heck yeah. Yes. Yes, yeah. Good. Yes, I'm gonna have a recording after the fact. Yes, you're gonna have access to. Yes, awesome. Super. Cool. Yes. Yeah. And some of them you probably hear about them, but it's how do you implement them? That's the question. But let's recap. The first strategy I spoke about is friends and family. There's challenges and some suggestions to deal with potential pitfalls when doing business with friends and family. So we spoke about that. The other thing is strategy number 2 was online marketing. You learn how to use social platform and how can it attract money to you by just sharing content, context, and information that creates that context. And also it can give you some credibility and position yourself as expert. During strategy number 3, networking, you learn some mistakes and some insights on how to take your network skills to the next level, how to network properly, and the importance of creating context for your investors. So if you ask me, what is the most critical strategy to find private money? I will say it's networking. It's just one of my favorite. Then we have number 4, which is you discover where the money is hiding, and out there, and where to get access to that money. Retirement fund leaders can become one of your best friends when it's about raising capital. And they have a lot of access to sophisticated investors. Now, during strategy number 5, you learn the 4 main elements of a presentation to get your investors excited about your deals and wanting to know more about you. I share my first slide so you can get a flavor about what it means to create context. And these can give you some ideas on where to start your presentation. So if you are asking yourself which strategy is best for you, well, here are my 5 questions that you should ask in order to select one strategy. Remember that you don't have to master all of them, but you can start with one and create progress. So the first one is, do you have a meaning relationship with your family and friends? And are you willing to implement the insights that I share with you? That's first one. The second one, are you good with technology, or are you willing to invest the money or the time in someone to do it for you? That's very important if you're going to take the online presence. Also, if you're thinking about your network skills or your speaking skills and your follow-up skills, then you have another 3 strategies that you can pick from. But it's something that you need to make a decision so you can focus on what kind of strategy you will be using to find private investors. And the other thing that is very important for me, especially when I'm making a decision which strategy I'm going to use, how quickly do I need to generate private investor leads? And how many leads do you want to generate? And am I willing to pay for leads? Because that's going to tell me a lot about where should I go. And do I need to use online? Do I need to use speaking gigs? Whatever it is that works for you. But if you can do something today after this presentation, I will recommend you pick one. Start there. And if you find yourself not being able to move forward, don't worry, because I'm going to talk to you about something. And before we get there, I just want to share this with you because I think it's important. I got to ask you, like, how many of you feel this way? I mean, overwhelmed. Awesome. Yeah, super. Yeah, like a fire hose. Yes, great description. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Overwhelmed. Yes, correct. Listen, I have been speaking for an hour and giving you high valuable content on where to find investors and where to start. The reality is raising capital has much more than just finding investors. It is simple to find the investors. This is where you go. There's no other science. There are other few strategies that I shared on the group, but this is the main strategies, things that we can do every day, even to find deals. But what most people need assistance on is how do you get these private investor into your deals. And I really